can rise from ash. Jade, Lavender, and Scarlet Phoenix power. Together we will rise. They tried to burn us, we glowed like a flower. They didn't know we had a Phoenix's power. Phoenix power.
And the best part here are the pets. We don't have cats. We don't have dogs. We have dragons.
It all started when I was born.
Hello, everyone. As you can tell, I'm very excited about today's episode. Obviously, Lavender here. We love a good Squidward intro. And you guys wouldn't believe who's here with me today. I wonder who it is.
No, she wasn't ready. She wasn't ready.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Jade Phoenix. How you doing? And I am also very excited for today's episode because, in all honesty, this is one of my favorite franchises to talk about. It's one of my favorite movies, the favorite TV shows,
Yes.
books, like all of it is just, this is top tier for me. And yes, I was an adult when it came out.
Who cares?
I don't care.
Animation is for everyone.
No, it's true. I mean, and honestly, if it was good back then, and I've had my reservations a lot when I found out that they were doing what they were doing and what we're going to be talking about. But Lav, what are we talking about? We're getting ahead of ourselves.
See How to Train Your Dragon live action movie. I am also a huge fan of How to Train Your Dragon. Like, I grew up with it in the sense of like, my favorite fun fact to tell people is I am the same age as Hiccup in every single year each one of those movies came out. So he was 13 in the first movie. I had just turned 13 when that movie came out. If I remember in the following one, he was like 16. I was 16 when that movie came out. And then I
think he was 16
Yeah,
in
and
How to
then-
Train Your Dragon 2.
Yes,
I think
and then
it
the
was
third one, he was 21.
Yeah.
And I was also 21. I had just turned 21. So Hiccup is my boy. Like, I essentially grew up with Hiccup, and I loved the franchise. I loved the TV shows. I basically lived for the dragons. So much like you, Jade, I also had my reservations about a live action version.
Yeah.
Especially from everything we've been seeing, namely from Disney with the live actions, the complete like lack of
just trash.
like the complete lack of
The
like
last
the main themes.
Yeah, but I would also say like the last live action adaptation that we've seen of a cartoon or even a CGI movie or anything like that was good, honestly, Cinderella.
Agreed. But I will raise you.
The Beauty and the Beast was okay.
But I will raise you Christopher Robin because I feel like
didn't
it's
watch
the most. That is like my comfort cry film. Whenever I know I need a good cathartic cry, I need to watch that movie. It is actually fantastic, and I think one of the best live actions they ever made.
I have not watched it simply because I'm not a big Winnie the Pooh fan.
Very fair. I'm a huge Winnie the Pooh fan.
I was tempted to watch it simply because Ewan McGregor's in it.
Oh, he's so wonderful in it.
So that is on my to-do list if I have nothing better to do.
Valid. I feel you. I totally feel you.
Because there are a lot of live actions that I've absolutely refused to see.
Fair.
And this is because of my trauma where they did the very first live action cartoon to live action and it was a Netflix film.
I feel like I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. It was fucking Death Note. I can't.
No.
Just awful.
Dude, that
Terrible.
honestly, I really do believe that might have been the first live action from a cartoon that was attempted from a popular cartoon that's been around for a while, anime to live action style.
I think anime to live action in America. That's correct.
In America, because they did do the Parasite movies, which were fantastic
Yes.
in Japan.
And then the other thing is Disney
And I think they did Bleach too.
actually did live actions even earlier. And arguably, I think this is one of their best ones too. The original 101 Dalmatians.
Yes. Okay. No, you're absolutely correct. That was good, but it was also not the original. It was like a retelling.
No, it was well, yes, it was a retelling, but it was supposed to be
Based on the original cartoon.
Based on the original cartoon.
Yeah, but it was still a retelling. And also Maleficent. Maleficent.
I have
But
like love and hate
Death
relationship
Note came.
with
I'm pretty
Maleficent.
sure Death Note like came out like right after 102 Dalmatians.
I remember I was
I know it came
in
out
college.
in like 2017. I want to say because I was living in my old slumlord apartment.
Valid. I was like at the beginning of college, so it had to be like 2017. 2017.
Something like that. And I remember because I was shout out to the Second Rounds on Us. That's when I used to still be a part of that podcast. I was the first lady, still am. Don't care what anybody says. And Mr. Oh So Smooth, Tommy James said you should watch this. And I was like, why? And he goes, because you need to see it because I had to see it.
Fair. I feel like that was everyone's attitudes around that movie.
I literally made it only 5 minutes and then I wanted
Horrible.
I could not. I couldn't fucking do it. I don't care that William Dafoe was Ryuk. I can't do it.
No, it was. Oh my god,
It was so bad.
It had nothing to do with the anime, and as y'all can see, we have some trauma related to live actions
and
because of this.
Because of this, like, listen, 101 Dalmatians was amazing. I loved 102 Dalmatians.
Me too.
I did enjoy some of the movies that have been put out that were live action remakes. I love Maleficent. Love Maleficent 2. Like those are some of my favorite fucking movies. Right? So I had high hopes with a lot of these things. Cinderella was pretty good.
Cinderella was wonderful.
Actually, also, I think my trauma may have also started with Ella Enchanted.
Valid. Because here's the thing. I've realized the people that love that film never read the book.
Yeah.
Because the book is so different
And
from
so
the
much
movie.
better,
So much better. Like,
The wind.
don't get me wrong. I do enjoy the cast. I think they had a very charismatic cast.
Oh, yeah. Anne Hathaway.
But it's nothing like the book. The book is a
No,
completely
the book
different
is so much
story.
better.
It
So
fully
much better.
fleshed out, I think a lot more entertaining. I felt like they tried too hard to be camp
Yeah.
for Ella Enchanted, and there's nothing wrong with camp.
They also hurt me with Aragon.
Oh God, don't even get me started.
They hurt me so badly with Aragon.
Golden Compass. Okay,
Of the wind.
but we can confidently say we went in with our reservations.
We
with How to
were
Train Your
very
Dragon.
nervous, especially considering the
How
fucking
high the hopes were.
the trash heap of the last 2 live
That
actions.
came out.
Fucking, I'm looking at you, Snow White and Lilo the Stitch.
I can't even get started on that, but I would like to say one thing. Look, Evil Queen is my girl. I love her. She is one of my favorite Disney villains, up there with Captain Hook. And you finally give her a song, and it was that trash.
That's rough.
She deserved a song in the original. She deserved an evil villain song, and that's what you gave us. I am disgusted. And for Lilo and Stitch,
No,
y'all,
fuck off.
y'all missed the entire point of the animated movie. I don't care who tries to validate it to me. Awful.
No.
Awful.
Terrible.
And a lot of Indigenous people are not happy about it.
Nope.
But kind of talking about Lilo and Stitch to go into How to Train Your Dragon, a lot of people don't know that the 2 people that directed How to Train Your Dragon were the same 2 people that directed Lilo and Stitch. Dean DuBois and Chris Sanders.
Hmm?
So
Now, was it the live action or the
the
animated?
original cartoons.
The original cartoons was them.
Yes.
Okay, not the trash heap.
Not the trash heap.
Okay.
And the reason I bring this up is what was so awesome about the How to Train Your Dragon live action that everyone was so excited for and why the hopes were high is Dean DuBois was asked to come back and direct the live action version. And as the original director of the animated film, they wanted to make sure that the heart was maintained, the storytelling was maintained, and the things that people loved about How to Train Your Dragon in the first place were preserved for the next generation of fans.
Didn't you also mention to me while we were in line getting our snackies that DuBois has been mercilessly shading?
Oh, it's lovely. I love these interviews. So to give y'all a quick taste, a lot of questions that people have been asking Dean DuBois is, what about Lilo and Stitch? And and it's great because one of the key things he loves to talk about in the interviews that have been going on for the press junket is he's like, this is the first of its kind. It means a lot to me that as the original director, they wanted me back and they had me do this live action remake. And of course, the follow-up question has always been, oh, you know, the Lilo and Stitch live action is out. Were you involved with that in any way? Because you also directed that. And he went, no, Disney didn't even give me a call. They didn't even try to reach out to me. And he has straight up said, I have no desire to see it.
I don't blame you.
Like, because they've asked him, like, have you seen it yet? And he's like, no. And they're like, well, did Disney? He goes, no, Disney did not reach out to me. I essentially, and he's just been shading it mercilessly. Because here's the thing. I think he also saw what everyone else is saying about it. And besides the fact that, like, Disney, I'm just going to say this right now. I think part of your problem with these live action remakes, especially if it's something recent like Lilo and Stitch, the directors are there.
They're willing to work on their stuff.
They're willing to work on their stuff. They cared about their stories. And Dean DeWa has done nothing but talk about how amazing it was for DreamWorks to not even try to look at another director to do it. Like, as soon as they announced it, Dean DeWa was the package. And if Dean DeWa didn't do it, they weren't going to do it. And I think that's so special, especially because, in my opinion, animation directors get looked over a lot. Because people just assume, oh, well, it's all computer generated. Like, it's just an animated movie.
Oh, no, it isn't. It's a fucking masterpiece.
So it was incredible for me, which is why, admittedly, my hopes are really high. And I was almost scared of how high my hopes were. But I am very happy to say that I was very impressed with the live action remake. And thank you for keeping stoic. I was so excited about that.
He was so excited to reprise his role.
know.
Gerard Butler was just so, yes, because there is no other stoic.
Exactly. And I think what was so fun about also something that Gerard Butler has been saying on the press junket, which I love hearing, and it just makes me smile, is he's like, you know, I originally didn't really know if I wanted to do an animated film before I did How to Train Your Dragon. And he was like, I just love the story so much, I decided to do it. And he was like, what was so special to me too in the animation process, and why I was like, when they asked me to come back as stoic, I said yes, is he said that they would watch him in the booth. And a lot of stoic's mannerisms were all his mannerisms while he was recording in the booth. So for him, he was so personally connected to this character. He was like, I really see myself in this character because he was essentially created around the performance I was giving. So he was all in for the live action, and he did a wonderful job. He was fantastic. Like, as always, when is he not
Houston,
fantastic?
We have no problems.
I was so happy to have him back. It felt like such a beautiful callback to the source material.
I don't disagree with you. And also, like, keep in mind, Lavender had a very tough time convincing me to go see this movie with
yes.
her. Like, the whole, she's like, Jade, please. No. Jade, please. No. Jade, please. No. And it's mostly because How to Train Your Dragon may have came out when I was obviously an older adult.
Yeah.
But it hit me at a time in my life where I needed that escapism.
Me too.
I needed that joy in the, in dragons and Vikings and finding, a different way and showing people that it's okay to be different.
Agreed.
Which I think is the whole premise of the entire film.
100%. And like for me, like the first one came out, I was the same age as Hiccup. We're both 13. And I was not a kid that had a lot of friends, right? I was mercilessly bullied for being different. So having this character like Hiccup, who's gentle and he's kind and he's thoughtful,
With not a lot of friends.
was so important to me. And it made me feel so seen and understood. And I loved, as I grew up, also getting to see Hiccup grow up and evolve and grow into his own. Like, when I tell y'all, I sobbed through that third film because I felt like I was watching myself grow up through Hiccup. So knowing that that was going to be the last movie, besides the emotional punch of that film, it just brought me to tears. Like, I was sobbing in that movie theater.
Yeah. Well, like I was saying, that movie was definitely it meant a lot to me in so many different ways because like I was going through a lot of shit back then. I was in my early 20s. I had, I was going through like heartbreak. I was going through, money issues. I was going through all sorts of things that like, can happen at once. Like my life was literally imploding at that point in time. And that movie became a comfort for me where I was able to just watch it over and over and over again. And I did not get bored. And that is a lot for me because if I have a movie that I can watch over and over and over again and still not be bored of it, that is a good one because I don't have many movies like that. And How to Train Your Dragon is one of them. And when the second one came out, I was oh my God, I was losing my mind because I was like, yes, they're back. My people, my babies. And then like they expanded the universe. And then at that point in time, I was in a better place in a lot of ways, but also still going through some shit. And it once again helped get me through that because it showed me that like, the Hiccup and Toothless and Astrid and Stormfly and all the other guys showed me that that adversity can be overcome. And it doesn't always have to be with sheer brute strength. That, as long as you just have mental capacity to find another way, to do things, to see things from a different way, to have compassion even when you don't want to. That was just like life lessons for me. And then when 3 came out, don't even get me started. I was I was feral. Because I had been placating myself up until 3 by watching the Netflix show Race to Dragon's End.
Oh, I love Race to the Edge.
Race to the, and then like they also had a couple of like small, I think, holiday specials that I would satiate myself on until the 3rd movie came out.
And they had the ones on Cartoon Network.
Yes. So like I did get my dragon fix. I did get my Hiccup fix. I got all those fixes. And thanks DreamWorks for giving me once again unreasonable expectations of men. How dare you?
Very fair. I love Hiccup. Hiccup is the dream guy. Sweet, sensitive, smart.
I'm at half-mast.
I love him. He's so sweet.
He's so He's so good. And also, like, keep fostering my unholy obsession with the Norse. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Exactly.
And these movies meant just they represent so many calm moments for me because they were calming. They weren't. I'm not gonna say that they represent good moments because they were usually coming around when things were a little nutty.
Fair.
But they represent my ability to stop focusing on those moments.
And those are good things. It's something that you could find a comfort in.
Yes.
In a way that's really unique. And I think people don't seem to realize that animation does that for a lot of people.
Oh, it really does.
It really gives people a gateway into not only seeing their own realities reflected to them, but in a way that they can step back and feel really immersed in something new.
It's true. It's true. I mean, and like, I'm a dragon slut anyway.
Oh, I know, girl.
Oh my God. Like anything dragon, I'm in. Like, I'm in. It does not matter. I mean, funny story. We're going to backtrack a little bit. So one of the earliest Disney movies that I can remember watching on VHS, besides The Little Mermaid, was Sleeping Beauty.
Yes.
The original Disney Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
And my grandmother, God rest her soul, used to say to me, "Oh, do you want to be Sleeping Beauty? You're totally like Sleeping Beauty," because I used to, I like naps. So I'm like, "No, I don't want to be Sleeping Beauty, Grandma." She's like, "What?" I go, "I want to be the dragon."
Well, it's such a cool dragon.
I wanted to be Maleficent in her dragon form. That was the earliest exposure. And ever since then, I have been literally obsessed with dragons.
Fair. Like, I remember, to be honest, I actually remember seeing all 3 of the movies in theaters. But most importantly, I remember I have a very close relationship with my Aunt Kathy and my cousins, Connor, Jessica, Dylan. And that was something that she knew I loved it so much and I was really interested in it. So she actually took me to the first one.
Ooh.
And I loved it so much. And I even remember seeing the second one I was in high school during the second one. Like I had just started high school. And I went like right to the movie theater after school. It was actually my first time going to the movie theater in Fresh Meadows. What? Because it was very close to my high school. I hopped on the bus. I was like, I have to see it.
Like, I gotta go.
And then finally enough, the third one I saw in Forest Hills, which is where I live now. And I'm like, that is actually hilarious. Hiccup followed me all the way through. And I just remember I used to have a friend who was also just as obsessed with it. And I'm so proud of her. She's doing so great. And we used to like literally have group chains where we would just talk about like how hot Hiccup got between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like, look.
The time skip is real, kids.
Y'all, that was my animated crush all the way. I had the biggest crush on Hiccup. Like, I absolutely was in love with him. Still am. And I mean, he just kept getting hotter. So I'm just going to like put that out there. And at one time, I really wanted to cosplay How to Train Your Dragon. And maybe I will now that my skills are more fine-tuned and I could actually like make the armor. I wanted to cosplay characters from How to Train Your Dragon so bad. So maybe that's a goal for this year for NYCC for me.
I will definitely do that.
Yes.
Girl.
Please feed my fire.
Say less. But which one would you cosplay?
That's the thing is I always wanted to do Hiccup's outfit, but I have also always wanted to do Astrid's outfit, specifically their outfits from How to Train Your Dragon 2, because those are my favorite costumes. Like, let me think. My favorite costumes by far. But I also do love the flame sword outfit that Hiccup has in How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be hard. I would have to like really sit down, look at my material, see what I think is more plausible for my skill level.
Yeah.
And then like go on from there. And I just love them. And I think what was so fun about seeing the live action in that way, even with all of this context, was just how true to the source material it was.
Yes.
Even down to the costumes.
Yes. The details on those costumes. Even in the theater, I'm sitting there going, ooh. And it's accurate to the actual designs that were believed to be on Norse clothing and armor even back then.
And
which I think is fantastic.
No, agreed. And I think, I was just really excited. They kept Hiccup's little fuzzy vest from part one. Like, I was like, oh my God. Because, whenever they do these like live action remakes, granted, I had way more hope because of Dean Dubois being involved. But they always try to like change it to make it more sleek, make it more modern. But the fact that they actually were like, no, Hiccup is still going to be in his little dorky fuzzy sweater,
He's
his
still
little
gonna have
fuzzy
his little
vest.
dorky haircut.
He'll still have it pointing out in like 5 different directions. Like, don't worry, he's still Hiccup. And God, Mason Thames, I absolutely loved him. I think he was a perfect choice for Hiccup. I think he completely embodied the character. He really just jumped in. And I quite literally love that. Another thing that's been going on the press junket is they keep asking them like, oh, like if you guys get greenlit for the second one, what are you looking forward to the most? And the first thing Mason Thames said was, I just want that armor. I was like, me too, bro. Me too.
Yeah, mode. My whole thing with this is I haven't really been paying attention to the press stuff. I haven't been paying attention to the press conferences. I haven't been doing any of that. And that's mostly not even like because I didn't want to, but it's honestly because I haven't really had time.
Fair.
And also I was very nervous about this live action, so I've kind of been avoiding it.
Very fair.
Anything about it, I've been very just like, no, let me not, because then I'm going to get interested and then I'm going to hate, then I'm going to be mad. Because that has happened to me with so many other live actions. Happened to me with The Little Mermaid. Happened to me with fucking, it happened to me with Lilo and Stitch. It happened to me, even though I didn't watch it yet.
You don't need to.
I wasn't going to. It happened with Snow White. It happened with, it's just happened so many times and I was just like, let me not, because then I'm just going to be angry and pissed off and not be able to explain to people why I'm angry and pissed off, because everyone's going to look at me like, it's just a movie. No, it's not.
That is so fair. Like, to give like the gate of view, like in my everyday life, I am a marketer. So for me, I'm very intrigued by the press junkets. I really like to see how they market the films. I just find it like very fascinating, which is why I'm usually really plugged in. And admittedly, the reason I got super plugged into the How to Train Your Dragon junket was because of Dean like shading Disney. And I was like, this is hysterical. And Dean, please keep speaking your mind. I love you. Never change.
Please do How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Please, like, oh no. Okay, I don't want to like give any spoilers fully because I'm like, there are people that may just be coming to experience it
Yeah.
because of the live action, but I'm gonna cry my eyes out. And Kate Blanchett, I know already that Gerard is gunning for you to come back. He's already said it on the press junket. He's already said that he's been bugging you to come back for part 2. So please come back for part 2. We need you.
Yes.
But I think what was also like going into the movie, right? I was also really nervous because I had such high expectations. And I am somebody who admittedly, especially for a movie that I have almost a very idealized expectation for,
Agreed.
I will read the reviews ahead of time. And the reason I do this is because if there's going to be something that's going to annoy me, but it won't impact the entire movie experience for me, I would rather know, and then I'll be kind of prepped to not be fully annoyed by it, and so that it doesn't annoy me the whole movie. For example, with Captain America Civil War, a friend of mine actually warned me about the Sharon Carter kiss because she knows how much I fucking hate the whole like Cap and Sharon storyline in the comics. So then when I saw the movie, even though I really didn't like Captain America Civil War, it helped me get through the movie to know that context. And the thing was, and I will call this out right away, I feel like nearly all of the reviewers that I read didn't see the original animated movie or don't love the source material as much as we do. Because one of the notes they made was, oh, like Astrid's so much more badass in this one. And I'm like, but she was in the original too. Like her plot lines in the live action were play by play, exactly her plot lines in the original animated version. So y'all, please don't make claims like that without rewatching the film, please and thanks, because that was literally her entire character arc in the animated film as well. So I was like, guys, like, did you not watch How to Train Your Dragon? Like, way to tell me you didn't see it. But speaking on that, I think it's great that Nico was casted, but I admittedly did not think she was the strongest of the cast.
I have to agree with you.
I think...
Listen, fantastic job.
Exactly.
But the Astrid that we are used to is feisty. She's outspoken. She's, not crazy, but she's very driven and determined. And yes, we got the driven and determined part.
For sure.
But everything else kind of just fell flat.
Yes, like I know
it was a very 2D character in a 3D movie.
Yes, like I know it sounds crazy, but like there were certain lines that because I'd seen the original movie so many times, I was excited to see Nico's delivery, and it just fell really flat. Like there were certain points, like when she's kind of like the confrontation with Hiccup when they're originally in the arena. Like that is such a feisty scene for Astrid in the original animated. And she just kind of went up to him and was like, oh, like, get out of my way.
Yeah, like...
Which I was like, oh, which, maybe she had a different read on the character for sure. Like, Nico, you're definitely very talented. But I just felt with how dedicated the rest of the cast was in terms of really embodying the characters, I was admittedly a little less impressed by Nico, but hey, we do learn more about the characters' personalities in 2 and 3. So she may really grow into the part of Astrid as the films continue. But that was one thing that I was a little surprised by. Like I was really expecting this breakout performance from Nico, when really for me, the breakout performance was from Mason as Hiccup. Like every time he came on screen, it was like watching the original animated movie. Like he just like brought a very great energy to the screen every time he was on the screen. And I was like, wow, like what perfect casting. Like they really sat down and found the perfect Hiccup. And I also really loved the actor who played Fish Legs. I think he was amazing.
Isn't that the same guy that was in Deadpool 2?
Yes, he plays the kid in Deadpool 2. I feel so bad. I can't even think of the kid's name from Deadpool 2 right now. But he was so fantastic as that character. Like as soon as he started mumbling the stats, I was like, nah, you got Fish Legs down pat.
It was perfect.
I was also really impressed by Snotlout. I thought his actor was so great. Like he totally was
Julian Dennison.
Julian Dennison.
There you go. Julian Dennison is who played Fish Legs.
Perfect. And then Snotlout, like he was like
That's
what I
Gabriel
pictured.
Howell.
Gabriel Howell, you quite literally were like you jumped right out of the cartoon. Like he told and what I liked about him was he brought almost a sensitivity to this very pig-headed character from the movies in the original animation. And he also gets fleshed out in 2 and 3, and we get to love him more as a character. But he really brought such a nice sensitivity to the character that like those scenes where like his father ignores him kind of hit more of a punch.
Who, believe it or not, is actually the dad. Like, and this is great because honestly, we never really saw Snotlout's dad in the original movies until the series.
Yes, he didn't get involved until all of the animated series.
Yes, and that character is actually played by Peter Serafinowicz, which, if you remember, do you remember the movie Couples Retreat?
That is like my favorite movie.
Do you remember the guy that played the butler?
Of course I did.
That's the same guy.
Yes, I do love Couples Retreat. I don't care what anyone says. I think it is one of the best rom-coms.
I think it's funny as hell.
I think it's hilarious. I also just love Vince Vaughn, so there's that too to consider.
Agreed.
But
When
he
it
was
comes
so
to
great.
when it comes to the cast, honestly, I have absolutely no complaints. I mean, Nick Frost taking over as Gobber.
He was the biggest surprise for me.
I was surprised.
Because look, I don't dislike Nick Frost, but whenever I think of Nick Frost, I think of like Hot Fuzz.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I always think of those movies.
And look, I love those movies, but that's who I think of. So admittedly, and hey, this is like something actors try to avoid.
You're
I think
also
of him in a
replacing
box.
Craig Ferguson.
Exactly. Like, and it's kind of like unfair to an actor that I put him in a box, right? Because that's what they're trying to avoid. And I was so impressed by his performance. It was probably one of the ones that, besides Mason, really stood out for me because I wasn't sure what to expect from Nick Frost in that role.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so good. And any kind of doubt I had about him embodying that role completely disappeared. And I'm really excited for him to continue the journey of that character moving forward.
Yes, I agree. I completely agree with that because honestly, he did I had no complaints. I mean, did he play it like Craig Ferguson? Obviously not. No. But he did it in his own way that still was just like, I can fucks with this.
Still very true to the character. And that's something I will say I was really impressed with by Mason, for example. You're taking on a role like Hiccup that, like, when people picture Hiccup, they think of Jay Baruchel.
Yes.
So it's really hard to fill anyone's shoes.
For real.
And I think what Mason did so well is he embodied Hiccup so fully and truly put his own spin on the character
in his own way, yeah.
while fully embodying the character that we know and love. And that
Agreed.
can be a really hard balance for a lot of performers, especially young performers.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with how this cast went. Okay, we know these are such beloved characters. We know such beloved actors are attached to these characters. How do we honor them, but also say, but I'm Mason Thames as Hiccup?
Yeah.
You know, or Nick Frost. And I think that was one of the best parts of it was, admittedly, it was very play-by-play, the exact same film as the animated film.
Yeah, even down to the dialogue.
Exactly, which I really enjoyed. I know some reviewers were upset about it, but for me, I really loved it. I would rather you recreate and reimagine a film that was so close to my heart and stay true to it versus trying to bring on changes just to have changes that then don't fit narratively
Yeah.
with the original film. And it kind of destroys, in my opinion, then the legacy of the film.
Agreed.
Because a lot of kids will only see these live action versions.
Possibly.
Possibly, you know, maybe they have great, very film forward parents, but not all do. So, like, that's part of the reason I was so upset about the changes they made to Lilo and Stitch, because I know there are going to be so many kids that will only know that version and not understand why the lesson in the animated movie was so important and kind and a warm hug for a lot of kids.
I don't know.
So to see Dean truly say, if you're going to ask me to do a live action, I am going to make my film that I originally made in the first place and truly make it real. And I also think it is one of the easier animated films to cross over into a live action, just in terms of the kind of what's popular in live action right now. So I think of the choices, it would be easier to make that a live action versus like a Lilo and Stitch, right? Just
May I speak now?
narratively.
You may.
May I speak now?
You may.
I have to say no.
Really?
I have to say no. When it comes to adapting this from cartoon to live action, I don't think this was easy to do at all.
Oh, I don't mean like easy in terms of doing the job.
No,
I mean,
doing it at all.
really?
I think doing it at all, because you had such perfect classics and a lot of the times you don't want to touch them. They took a risk. They took a huge risk. Granted, the stars aligned and thank the gods it actually it turned out good. But this could have destroyed the entire franchise.
I agree with that point for sure. I guess what I mean by easy is I feel narratively it is something that you can cross over into a live action without, pardon my pun, a lot of hiccups. Because you can tell a dragon story in live action. I'm not saying it's always good, but in terms of formula, it can be done.
We're looking at you, Game of Thrones final season.
Don't even get me started.
I'm looking at you.
Thank God House of the Dragon has been as good as it is, because I feel like it's really revitalizing any hope for Game of Thrones as a franchise overall.
I mean, come on, we're talking dragons, and that has just been fantastic.
But I will say, one of the things I did say to Jade as soon as the film was over, I was like, the animation was wonderful. Because a big thing that I get really upset about in these live actions is how poorly the CGI is done. Because if you're going to bring something into live action, at least put the money and the work and pay your animators to do it well.
I think when it comes to something that is a non-Disney live action but with CGI, Sonic, the Sonic trilogy has set the bar.
I agree, 100%.
Has set the is it it's going to be a trilogy, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Has set the absolute highest bar that you could when it comes to that kind of CGI. I think that is why they worked so very hard to make these dragons not only look realistic, but still look like the dragons from the original cartoon, which I'm very grateful for, because I thought that we were all going to get just like Game of Thrones style Wyvern dragons or stuff like that. No. They kept very close to the source material, and Toothless's design is one of my favorite designs of all time for a dragon, and they did it correctly. They didn't do it so much where it was just mostly like lizard. They didn't do it so much where it was cartoon. They did it just right where it was enough that I'm looking at Toothless right now, but I'm looking at like Toothless if he was real.
Agreed.
Like, I wanted to touch his scales. Like, I wanted to run my hands down his wing membranes. Like, I was like, I can imagine in my head how this would feel based on the way that dragon looked.
Oh, 100%. Because for me, at least, nothing takes me out of a film as much as bad CGI.
Yep.
Which is why I tend to prefer practical effects. And I even think older films do a better job. I'd rather watch an older film with practical effects and then really wonky CGI because it feels more real to me.
Like Jurassic Park.
Exactly. It feels more real than, like, I'm going to call out Marvel here. It feels so much more real than a lot of the CGI they've been doing in Marvel recently.
Yup.
So I was so impressed for all the same reasons that you could develop these dragons so that they look real and they feel tangible. None of the scenes felt like I was watching an actor against a green screen.
None of them. I legitimately, we know.
Yeah. To
but they also did film a lot of these in Iceland.
Yes, which I thought was so cool.
So we actually got a lot of those scenic shots were done in real life. And, also at the same time, I know when you look at a lot of the things with CGI, you see the dummies that they use. And I still felt like the actors were still interacting with an actual creature.
Yeah.
More so than obviously just a fake animatronic dummy or something like that. Because I did think, and this is why also I'm hoping that I'm right. I think in a few scenes it looked like they may have used an actual animatronic, but I could be wrong.
I'm actually really interested to see the behind the scenes of this movie
Yes.
because obviously they're not going to show it in the press junket yet.
No.
Once it's been out for a while, they will show more of those types of things just by the marketing formula. But I'm actually curious to see that too, because I have seen so many movies where it's obviously CGI, and this speaks to the talent of all of the actors
And
in
the
this film.
animators.
Agreed. But it speaks for these young actors' performances, I think, because there are seasoned actors who do scenes that involve CGI, and you can kind of tell that they're disconnected.
Yep.
And the fact that Mason, who obviously was working very heavily with a CGI acting partner, was able to show that much emotion, that much tenderness. It speaks so much for him as a performer. And he's only 16, I think. I could be wrong. He's between 16 and 18. Because I originally saw him in Black Phone, and I actually found out that's
He is
how
17 years old.
Okay, so he's 17. I was almost there. But
he's only done one other role, and that was
it's Black Phone.
The Black Phone.
And apparently, this was also something I found really interesting too. In the press junket, Dean Dubois admitted that that's how he thought of Mason Thames for the role and why he wanted him to audition.
His birthday's actually coming up.
Happy almost birthday, Mason.
July 10th.
But because he was I was on an airplane and I watched Black Phone and I went, wow, he's a really great actor and I think he would work for my new project. And I'm like, that's so cool. And I think the movie speaks for itself that he was a perfect choice.
I don't disagree.
And
I mean, Nico Parker is only 20.
yeah, these are all very young actors.
Julian Dennison is 22.
Okay.
We have Bronwyn James, who played Rough Nut. She's 30. So
Yeah,
she's
she
one
was
of the
older.
She's one of the older cast members.
Because I knew she was in Wicked.
Yes. Actually, believe it or not, Harry Trevelyan, who played Tough Nut, is 31.
Okay.
Gabriel Howell is born in 1998, so they are 16.
Okay.
No,
wait. 1998?
1998.
You wouldn't be
Oh,
16.
wait, no, I'm sorry.
Because I'm 28.
Shut up. I'm tired. And I
You'd
don't
be 27.
I don't do math.
Very fair. I am also not a math human. The only reason I was even able to call that is because I'm semi-aware of how old I am.
You want to know what it is? I was thinking 19. For some reason, I thought 2008.
No, very fair. But, that's what was so impressive about their performances. And then you have, I remember Gerard Butler also said this in the press junket. He was like, what was so cool was, he was like, I felt even close to the father and son scenes when we were recording it in the studio. And he was like, it was something so special
I mean, you got to talk about
to do it in person.
Gerard Butler, who is 55 years old.
Daddy.
Reprising a role that he did 20 years ago?
Yeah, because I was 13 when the first one came out. So I'm 28 now. So that would be that's 15 years ago.
15 years ago. So he was 40 when he did that role. He was my age when he did that role. So Still daddy.
He is a beautiful man. I'm just gonna put that out there.
You
Like,
are a beautiful man. Will
you're
you wear
beautiful man.
wigs?
Do you wear wigs? That is my favorite thing on the face of the planet. God bless the Lord of the Rings cast. But there were so many things I loved about that film, like just the play-by-play, the scenes.
I mean, Nick Frost is 53.
Yeah.
And let's see, that Peter guy's 52. Then we had an introduction of two characters. Phlegma, who's played by Ruth Codd. She's 29. And then you had Murray MacArthur. He played a Viking, but they didn't give his name. And he is actually the oldest in the cast at 59.
I will say, I actually liked that kind of inclusion of the Viking Council because that wasn't in the first animated film.
No, it was actually never even expressed in the animated film that the Burke was a settlement that was created by multiple tribes. It was just always implied that it was their tribe, the one tribe. And that's why Race to the Edge actually introduces us to the other tribes of Norse people and other dragons and all sorts of different things and habitats and everything like that, which was really cool. And them able to take that lore and turn it into the actual movie, I fucking was just like, yes.
I loved that. It's like you could tell that Dean not only loved the films he directed, but he loved the creative direction that other directors took his work in.
Yes.
So that really spoke volumes about the story that he was like, oh, wow, I really loved what they did in Race to the Edge. It's going to now be fully immersed within my reimagining of my first film in this franchise.
For a movie that's almost 2 hours long, I wasn't bored.
Me neither. I was having such a good time. I definitely cried multiple times in the movie.
They had the original movie music.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. That really got to me. I'm not going to lie.
We're talking about a film that was only released on the 13th of June.
Yeah.
And it has a 77% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Not only is that rare in general, but it's rare for a live action.
98% approval rating on Fandango. And a 8.1 out of 10 from IMDb. That's a lot. That's rare.
That is such a huge accomplishment.
Now, let me tell you, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to look up what Lilo and Stitch.
What Lilo and Stitch got.
So Lilo and Stitch has been out since May 23rd of this year. And where is the Rotten Tomatoes? Give me the overview. Thank you. All right. I want the ratings, bastards. I want
your ratings.
Give me your ratings. I don't want the times. I want the ratings.
Don't worry, I won't be seeing it.
You know what? It's probably so bad that they can't give me the ratings.
Honestly, I can tell you as a marketer who also works in SEO, sometimes they'll hide that stuff.
Shit. All right. IMDb gave Lilo and Stitch a 6.9 out of 10. Eugh.
I feel like that's too high.
That's still too high, honestly.
I have my own opinions about things like that, but that could get me in trouble.
71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
You see, this can get me in trouble because then I can go down the path of I can talk about what companies do to maintain the scores of their films.
Yeah.
But I am not going to do that.
Let's not expose that. We can do that in another show.
We can do that in another show because,
We'll do
the
expose.
Exactly. I have industry background. But I think the thing about How to Train Your Dragon and the reason it's so impactful, even if the scores seem close between them and Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, but also keep in mind, this is a score that this got. Today is the what? It is the
Today
the 19th.
is the 19th. It's only been out for 6 days.
That other movie's been out for a month.
Exactly.
Or about to be out for a month. And that's the rating it has. And I've been everybody who's seen it is like, fuck you. So they've been deliberately erasing the bad reviews.
Oh, 100%. And you can do that. Just gonna put it out there. You can do it.
Ugh.
But I think what I really loved too, and I even said this to you when we were literally leaving the theater, a lot of my fears about how they were going to do this film is they would try to sleek it up for what's modern and cool because
Yeah.
a lot of these live actions do.
And to follow trends.
And one of the most important kind of subplots for me in the series is this kind of a spoiler. Spoiler alert. Hiccup loses his leg at the end of the first How to Train Your Dragon. And he was one of the first characters I ever saw on screen who had a visual disability who wasn't treated as if it was a disability. And I kind of always loved that about the characters.
Gobber was missing a hand
and they always had it like he had special tools to help him. They always created accessible things so that they were just as involved in the community. So for me, it was so important that that piece was kept in the original. And I always loved the kind of like parallel between Hiccup losing his leg and getting the prosthetic, and Hiccup helping Toothless build his prosthetic when Toothless lost his wing. And I think that's a very meaningful parallel and is very deliberate.
I agree.
In the original film. So I was so worried they would cut it out. I thought they were going to be like, oh, kids today won't get it. Because I feel like people dumb down children. Children are not as dumb as you think. Children are not as sensitive as you think. You need to treat your children with respect and like they have brains. But that's besides the point. I was so happy that they kept that scene. Like I don't know why that scene of all scenes, but that scene in particular, I was so scared was going to be pulled from the movie.
It's one of the most monumental things about the entire thing is
just because of what I've seen in the previous live actions. And especially with, and I will say this right now, DreamWorks gives their creators much more creative freedom.
They do.
And they don't follow certain things that are put in place to make them more appealing to other government entities.
You can literally just say they are not politically correct.
Yeah. Well, not even they're not. That's not really it. It's more of
they'll toe the line.
They'll make sure that their film still has what it always had without needing to cut out a scene of two men dancing together so that they can make more money in China. You see what I'm saying? So I was so worried they were going to cut it out and be like, oh, that might be a little too much for the kids of today. And they still kept it. And that scene always makes me cry when he wakes up and he realizes that and they never show it as like a mourning. It's more of, oh, now I need to adapt to something new. And I always love that Toothless is the one that helps him stand and walks him to the door.
Well, yeah. I mean, he did the same thing for Toothless when
I know. And it was just so great actually seeing that in the live action. Like, I was so happy. That was one of the scenes that I started tearing up during. It's one of my all-time favorites from the animated film. So I was like, this is the best scene. Like, I was so happy because I think naturally we all worry that certain scenes are going to be cut because of current feelings. And I was like, please don't cut this. This is so important for children to see disability talked about in this way.
Yeah.
And they kept it. And it makes me even more excited if they get greenlit for 2 and 3.
I don't think they're not going to not get greenlit.
I don't think so either.
I think we're going to get I think we're getting the franchise. And
I hope so.
I need it. I'm not going to deny it. Y'all did so good. I would spend my money to see another one.
Oh, 100%. Like, not even a question.
I would not even a question, take my money for How to Train Your Dragon 2 live action. I'll do it.
Please. And Nico Parker, like, as I said, you're a talented girl, and I want to see you shine even more in the second one.
I agree. I think that you can do Astrid proud.
I think so, too.
Just, your delivery was a little flat.
I think, like, just go for it, girl. It's okay to like really
let
play
loose.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be so uptight, girl.
That's what I was a little confused about with Astrid. I was like, why is she like, because she was always very proud, but she was never uptight. So I was like, okay.
I want to see the more personality traits of the others as well, because they do play very large parts in the series and the movies themselves. I need to see more of that. So yeah, I mean, all around, my final thoughts on this are definitely, if you have not seen it, go see it.
Please do.
We have done our best not to spoil the actual live action for you, Because if you've already seen How to Train Your Dragon in the cartoon, you're already going to know what you're watching. But my suggestion is definitely go see it on the big screen. It's worth it.
It is. And I've heard it was filmed for IMAX. So a lot of people have told me that the IMAX experience is even more breathtaking.
I might go see that in IMAX
So, if you can see it in IMAX, I can't suggest it more. And I even said this, it was so funny. Before we sat down to record this, I was actually texting my family because they know how much I love this movie and how skeptical and how critical I can be of live action remakes. So the first thing I did was text my family and be like, this is the best live action remake I've ever seen. They did the film justice. And that's a huge mark of respect from me because I'm so like, not that I'm anti-live action, but recently I've been anti-live action because of the drivel we've been getting.
Yeah.
So, Dean Dubois, you did a wonderful job. I hope this continues to be the standard
Yes.
of hiring the original directors from these animated movies and letting them bring their vision to life in new and exciting ways.
Yes.
And I'm really hoping the rest of the cast gets to do How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Yes.
And Kate Blanchett, please come back.
We
We need you.
We need you. But on that note, guys, if you're coming up to Westchester this weekend, the Phoenix Gate will be once again at Undiscovered Realm.
Very, very excited. We can't wait. We have some fun cosplays. We'll have one of our most popular group cosplays going one of the days. If you saw us at MagFest, you know.
You already know. Also, if you're following our social media, which at this point in time, if you're not, what's wrong with you? You'll know because we'll be posting it there, and we have been. And also, like, there are so many great voice actors and talent that are coming, plus so many fucking amazing vendors. And we have our famous Duck Game. So come on down to Westchester to the Undiscovered Realm Comic-Con this weekend. It's going to be amazing. Celebrate the beginning of summer by getting a little crazy and nerdy with us.
And we'll see you there.
All righty. So,
Bye.